So we have a point interesting concerning the Messiah, concerning Joseph, concerning the story of Jacob. You know the story of Jacob. Jacob and Esau were the sons of Isaac. And technically speaking, Esau was the first one to come out. He's the firstborn, and he was supposed to receive the firstborn blessing. Okay. Even though he'd only come out been a few minutes beforehand, he was to receive the first blessing. And then Joseph went, and then Rebecca, the mother of both boys, she told Jacob to dress himself up, to make himself look and feel like Esau, and go in and take the blessing instead of him. And so why did he have, so we can ask questions, why did he have to this whole rigmarole? Why did he have to do this? Also, why did Isaac want to bless Esau beforehand? Esau was a wild man, a hunter, an outdoors person. How come Isaac wanted to give him the blessing instead of Jacob? And why did Jacob have to take it that way? So the different explanations are given, but we can see what the simple verses say. The simple verses, according to how they may be understood, different commentators have understood them. So we should point out that two things we should point out that the Bible story, as well as being a Bible story, historical things that really happened, they're also paradigms, prototypical prophecies. They are reenactments, preparing the way for their descendants to play a role. This is part of the role. So what was the role of Esau supposed to be? What was the role of Esau supposed to be? The role of Esau was supposed to be similar to that of that we find amongst Jews. Amongst Jews, sometimes you have according to the legends, you had the brothers Zebulun and Issachar. Zebulun and Issachar were two of the brothers, two of the 12 tribes of the sons of Leah, and they're always mentioned together because they were born one after another, and they were two of these groups, often usually grouped together, and in the blessing of Jacob, they're blessed together, and they say that Issachar was to learn Torah and occupy himself with spiritual and intellectual things, and Zebulun would go out in the ships and provide for him. And you have arrangements like that in Jewish tradition. You have people in the family who spend all their time learning Torah. Another member of the family, when you have a lot of brothers, another family goes out, or all the rest of the family provide for this brother who sits and learns. It's a known phenomenon. It's a known arrangement. So they said that Isaac had something similar. He saw that Esau was an outdoor man. Esau was a military type. He was a warrior. He was a hunter. And that Isaac thought that he should take over the material aspect of civilization. He should rule over the Gentiles. And Jacob should be occupied with the spiritual side. But Rebecca saw that this wouldn't work out too well, and that Jacob, in effect, was capable of fulfilling both aspects of the blessing. Therefore, she had Jacob dress himself up as Esau, indicating in a symbolic sense that Jacob, in order to receive the blessing, had to take on the aspects of Esau. He had to be like him. He had to be a warrior type like him, someone who goes out, who colonizes, who exploits, who civilizes, who rules over other people, who asserts himself. These aspects of Esau, so Jacob had to take them over. And which portion of Jacob would be primarily charged with this mission? Joseph. And what are one of the proofs we have for this? Because the blessing to Jacob that Jacob took from Esau is almost exactly the same as the blessing that Jacob, before he died, gave to Joseph. Now we'll come to this. I'll show you the proofs and you can see them for yourselves. Just remember that if you remember the story, that Jacob and his brothers, Jacob and his sons, they came down to Egypt because of Joseph. And then sometime before he passed away, Jacob called Joseph to come to him with his two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, and he gave them a blessing, a long blessing. After that, when he was really going to die, he had all the sons come together, and he gave Joseph another blessing together with the sons. So the separate primary previous blessing that he had given to Joseph is almost exactly the same as the blessing that he had received from Isaac, and this was the blessing that Isaac had intended for Esau, for Edom. In other words, Joseph took the place of Edom. So we'll explain this. That is the overall scenario as we understand it, and you can check it out. You check it out in the Bible, compare the passages, you'll see what I mean. And Joseph received from Jacob that which had been taken from Esau. Joseph has a task originally intended for Esau. Joseph should therefore assist Judah, who in some ways is a continuation of Jacob. This is what is meant by the Midrash, where it says, in order to return, Israel needs to accept God, accept the kingdom of David, and to rebuild the temple. The two portions have to come together, including the two tasks. In the end times, the 10 tribes also have to take on themselves aspects of Judah, in the same way as Judah takes on more nationalistic aspects of its own. And David will come first to Judah, and after that to the 10 tribes. Because the 10 tribes will initially be governed, ruled over, directed by Messiah, son of Joseph. So that is a point that we have. Now we're going into a little bit more detail concerning this. A little bit more detail concerning this, and then that's what we have, according to the Bible. And it tells us that, as we said, Esau was the firstborn, and therefore he should have had the preeminence. But according to the simple meaning, he bought the birthright from Esau. So we have two aspects. We have the so-called birthright, and we have the final blessing. So two separate aspects of the final blessing, the birthright and the final blessing. And according to the simple meaning, we hear that Esau, I'll tell you to verbally, you can look it up in the source. Esau went out hunting, and he came back from hunting, and he was famished. And he came in, and he found Joseph. Sorry, he found Yaakov. He found Jacob eating a bowl of lentils, red beans, or something similar to that. And he said, "Give me some of that red stuff, for I'm famished. I'm going to die." And according to the simple meaning, it says, "Sell me first your birthright." And he says, "I'm going to die. What good is my birthright to me?" And he despised his birthright, and then he ate, revived himself, and he went out. That's what it says. And you look at the Hebrew, in the Hebrew, it doesn't really say that. In the Hebrew, it says something else. The grammar of the Hebrew, you can look it up on my website for the details, but the grammar of the Hebrew says, Esau ate. Esau ate. Esau had it. It doesn't say Esau ate. He said he had it. And then he gave the blessing. He gave the blessing to Jacob. In other words, first, Jacob gave the lentils, or whatever they were, the red stuff, the red beans. There, you have these cans, baked red beans. You buy them in the supermarket. Anyway, red beans. And he ate them, And then after that, Jacob asked for the blessing, and Esau gave it to him. And that is the Hebrew grammar. We have a work on based on Hebrew grammar, which explains it. Just a second. About 200 years ago, Mecklenburg in Germany, he wrote a whole book going into the grammar of the Bible. And he shows this, he explains this out from a grammatical point of view. That is what the verse is telling us in the Hebrew original. That's what it means. Now, first Esau ate, then he gave the blessing. And so Jacob took the blessing. And we also see later when he tricks Isaac and Esau comes in just as Jacob dressed himself up as Esau. He received the blessing from Isaac. And then he went out. And then Jacob went out. And just as he went out, Esau came in. And his father, Isaac, told him what had happened. And Esau says, first he takes my birthright, then he takes my blessing. And until then, Jacob did not know that he had taken the birthright. Apparently the birthright was connected with the blessing. And then Jacob says, I have blessed him and he shall be blessed. And he confirms the blessing. And later on, he repeats the blessing. Right. So we're going to a little bit of detail on that point. The Bible, chapter 27, Genesis, tells us that Isaac became old and blind. And he called his older son Esau and told him that since he was old and liable to die at any time, they wished to give him a departing deathbed blessing then and there. First, however, Esau was to take his bow and quiver to go out and hunt. Game and prepared food for Isaac. That is, game was plentiful. We also find in the early days of North America and a lot of places and old writings. People just go out and even in Scandinavia, they had some places had so much fish in America. So just dip their hands in the water and pick out herring. We just go outside and see a deer roaming around, just take what they want. That happened, and apparently that was the case in the land of Israel in ancient times. It was thinly populated, there's a lot of game around. So he told them to go out and get game. And Rebecca, the wife of Isaac and the mother of Esau and Jacob, she overheard the instructions of Isaac to Esau. She told Jacob, the other son, what was happening. She told Jacob to take 2 choice young goats from the flock and she would prepare them as a meal for Isaac and tell him that it was deer that had been killed. And they was to present this dish to Isaac and pretend to be Esau and so on. And Jacob did not want to do this. He was afraid of Isaac cursing him, but Rebekah said that she would take responsibility. So Jacob did what Rebekah told him. And when he went in, he told Isaac that he was Esau, and Esau said the voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. So from that, we also learn that in order to receive the blessing, the hands had to be the hands of Esau. They had to be like Esau. They had to have the qualities of Esau. Something of Esau had to be with Joseph, had to be with Jacob, and he was to give this to Joseph. And he received the blessing. And the blessing included enjoyment of salubrious beneficial climates, agricultural plenty, ruling over other peoples, the nations being his subjects. He was to be master of his brethren, meaning Ishmael and others. And Esau would be subservient to Jacob instead of Jacob to Esau. And Isaac himself was not even aware of the implications of his own blessings. He was a conduit. He was given the voice which was blessing him. It was his voice. The words were coming from heaven. The blessing ended with the expression, cursed be those who curse you and blessed be those who bless you. And Jacob went out from the presence of Isaac, and Isaac told Esau that Jacob had been blessed with material plenty and had been made master of his brethren and of his brothers. And then Isaac also blessed Esau, and he said he would possess the fertility of the land and blessing from the dew of heaven. He would live by a sword, and he would serve his brother. When Isaac would go down, that is, move away from Jacob, he would break free from him. As a result of this incident, Esau bore a grudge against Jacob, made plans to kill him. Genesis 27:41. Jacob was also known as Israel. He was renamed Israel. And of Esau and Isaac blessed Esau. He said, by your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. And Esau became the ancestor to the founder settlers of early Rome, the part of the German people, and the part of the ruling elites of Europe, of the aristocracy. And also they helped found the initial rulers of China came from Esau, and also Japan and other places. They established nations. They helped made the foundations of civilization in many places. Carthage and other places. They were not the master of the people in those areas, but they were the rulers. They were initial foundational elements. And they somewhat had a type of rivalry with the descendants of Joseph. And the blessings of Jacob were acquired by him after disguising himself as Esau. These blessings were to some degree fulfilled through the 10 tribes, especially Joseph. And they came to fruition. When did these blessings come to fruition? After the 10 tribes had lost consciousness. They lost consciousness of who they were, of the Israelite ancestry. And they accepted the dress of Esau. Mother accepted the dress of Esau. They accepted the culture of Esau, the values of Esau. They looked like Esau. They were clones of Esau to some degree, but they had needed this in order to go down to the level of the nations and to elevate themselves and bring the rest of the world up with them. This was a part of their task. This is what we have. And this is the blessing this is a blessing it says to Joseph, may God Almighty bless you, Genesis 28:3. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you, then you may become a company of peoples. You may also give the blessing of Abraham to you and your descendants with you, that you may possess the land of your sojournings, which God gave to Abraham. And he says in 49:6, the blessings of my father Abraham, the blessings of my progenitors unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph, and the crown of him that was separated from his brethren. And Ephraim and Manasseh, the sons of Joseph, were blessed with the same blessings and promised to become a great multitude and rule over other peoples. See Genesis 48:15-20. The blessings of Joseph were confirmed and reiterated with even greater emphasis and intensity. See Genesis 49:22-26. Joseph and most other tribes did not keep the Torah at the time they were in the land. 2 Kings 17:7-16, 2 Kings 18:12. They separated from Judah in exile, the Assyrians and the Edomites. Amos chapter 1 took them away. The Edomites were also involved in the exile, and the exile of the 10 tribes. The Assyrians became important elements, military elites. They were important among the descendants of Esau. Were important element, an element amongst the Assyrian rulers, the Akkadians amongst them, also in Babylon and other places. And they were also involved. Amos mentions this several times over. They're also involved in the exile of the 10 tribes. See the first chapter of Amos. He emphasized that. So that is what we have. We also have the fact that the 10 tribes were to be separated from Judah, almost to the end. See Isaiah 11:12, when they will reunite. And they will not have been recognized as Israelites. See Isaiah 49:21, when the Jews, the people from Judah, see the lost 10 tribes returning. What will they say? You will say in your heart, who has begotten these for me? Since I have been bereaved of my children and am barren and exiled and wandering, Judah was persecuted. Judah was wandering around. Judah was alone. And all the time these people were out there and they weren't helping. Well, they often did help, but they weren't helping as they could have done. And who has reared these now? These are coming back as the 10 tribes. Behold, I was alone. From where did these come? And this is he's referring to the 10 tribes returning, according to several different sources. And so too, we should note one more point, and that then we'll leave it for the moment. We should note that the blessing to Abraham. Abraham was blessed. Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know that he will command his children his house after him. They shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment. The Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken of. In other words, Abraham to do justice and judgment, but in order to do that, he would become a great nation. and all the nations of the earth will be blessed in him. In other words, these blessings were in order to enable him to fulfill his task of civilizing humanity, and he had the wherewithal, he had the ability to do this, therefore he received the blessing for it. And that is what we have. That was the task of Judah. That is the blessing, the promise that was given unto him. It was a blessing that was given unto him, and so too we have Judah. Judah also had its task in the world history and in the Bible, and that is what the Bible speaks of. So that is what we have. May the Lord God of Israel bless you and be with you.